today's sewing snack video, we are going to talk about the blanket stitch. This is a decorative edge stitching used for binding on non-fraying fabrics such as fleece or felt. It is used in applique, and there are other creative uses. I am using a blanket stitch in the project I am currently designing, and so I thought this was a perfect time to do a tutorial on the blanket stitch. The blanket stitch is a more decorative stitch, so you'll want to use something like embroidery floss, and sometimes you'll only need a couple of strands doubled over. I actually have all 6 strands here doubled over, and I've done that so that it'll look nice and chunky and you'll be able to see really well what I'm doing. Another thing, because it's a decorative stitch, you'll want your spacing to be even. So you'll want your stitch length to be even and also your stitch width to be even. I drew lines, or actually little dots on here, so that we could see a little guide where to stitch. And I've got my first stitch started. I'm coming in from the inside, just going through one layer of fabric. That way we hide our knot in there. And then I'm going to come back through the exact same space, going through both layers of fabric. Try to get lined up in the very same spot, and then use my left hand to grab onto that loop, because before tightening it down, I'm gonna put my needle right through there. This is our anchor stitch. All right, I am going to go in the same direction for the whole project. And because I'm right-handed, I'm going to go towards the left. I'm going to use my left hand then to kind of keep track of this long piece of floss. You'll notice when you're doing a chunky stitch that you're going to go through an awful lot of embroidery floss. Okay, thing to remember, I'm always going to come in from the top and go down and through, and then over my loop, just like that. I'm going to try to keep this in the camera for you. And this is a special stitch because we are doing the corner. We're going to do a couple of stitches. I've got here one that's going to come on the side parallel to this stitch. I'm going to use that same exact hole to do another stitch. And I could just do a stitch right here and leave the corner, but I am going to do a stitch with just sort of right at a 45-degree angle in that corner. Just to take a little bit of fussiness to get that corner just right. It'll stay put pretty well once it's all tightened down. And then my next stitch is going to be in the same corner. So I'm essentially using this one hole 3 times. And this time the stitch is going to go perpendicular, and we will have fully rounded that corner. Okay, so that is how we do our corner. From here, I'm just going to keep following my dots and coming through. because we're getting a short thread, I'm going to thread my needle again, but I'm going to have to tie this off. I'm going to do that by tying a little knot here. And then I'll come back down in between my layers of fabric. Go in a ways and pull through. And that just leaves that trailing thread end tucked inside. I can snip this and my thread will disappear. And now we'll start with a new needle of thread. Okay, I've threaded my needle and I'm coming through in between the layers of fabric just like we did at the beginning over here. And I'm going to do another anchor stitch just like before. Okay, now we are at the very end and we are going to come through our original hole, catching this loop just like usual, but I'm also going to swing this around and knot that original stitch. We'll have a little knot at the top. Then right where that knot we made is, I'm going to push my needle down between the layers of fabric. Come out. And snip. And we have done a blanket stitch. A blanket stitch with applique is very, very similar. You'll want to come in at the back and make an anchor stitch, just like we did in the last project. You're going to come down just past your applique and then come back up through the exact same hole. And then go through that original loop. And now you've got your anchor stitch. And just like before, we're going to go down and then up and through our loop and continue all the way around. The only real difference doing an applique is that instead of going off the edge of your fabric, you're only going off the edge of the applique. And you're still coming up through your loop. With an applique, I will end my stitch a little bit differently. I'll come back down through my last stitch. And if this is going to be added to a project, I'm just going to tie it off at the back where you won't see it. This is an example of a blanket stitch with a much shorter stitch width and stitch length, and using only 2 strands of embroidery floss for a really dainty look. This particular project is a book and visor pal that can hold pens, reading glasses, sunglasses, and can be used on any standard size book or your car visor. And if you'd like more information about this particular project, there is a video linked in the description below. And that concludes our blanket stitch tutorial. If you have any questions or creative suggestions for how to use a blanket stitch, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. And if you'd like to help my channel, please like and subscribe. And until next time, happy sewing.